Public comment? All right. I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, January 14, 2020 meeting of the Middleton Board of Selectmen. For anybody in the audience, I want to tell you that by being in the audience, you will agree to have your picture taken as well as your voice recorded. And we will go to warrants number 2014 and 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On warrant 2014, which was January 2nd, on the payroll side, we had $681,713, and on bills payable, we had $812,769. Of that, the usual payroll deductions in the amount of $91,788. We had some salt and snow expenses, $17,544 for salt and $5,824 in snow plowing, as well as $3,613 in fuel for DPW, $491,726 for purchase of power by Meld, and then $34,585 for a new cruiser for the police department. That was one that was approved back in May. On this week's warrant number 2015, on payroll, $661,200, and on bills payable, $973,458. Of that, payroll deductions in the amount of $85,892. Our annual streetlight bill in the amount of $28,288. The second, I think it'll be the second to last payment for the North Liberty Street project in the amount of $100,422. $192,400 for purchase of power for Meld, and then $318,386 for insurance deductions. I want to jump back up to the streetlights. We did that streetlight conversion project that started in, I think, in 2015. I think it started before I got here, finished up a year or so after I got here. I think we were in the past paying around $55,000.
It was up to, it was in the low 60s at one point. Yeah,
so really has, you really see the benefit of going to LED when you look at something like the street lights, where it's all of the lights, as well as the colonial lights in the downtown area. So
and so much brighter, such better light.
Yeah, truer, whiter light, more natural light. So,
but since we pay Meld less, they give us back less.
Correct. So, but we're improving our carbon footprint. So those are the warrants. Sarah Wood has reviewed them and asks for the board's affirmative action on that.
Do I have a motion?
Move to accept as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Minutes, we have minutes of December 17, 2019.
Move to accept as presented.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes unanimously. The town administrator report.
It's been a month since we met, so a couple of things to bring the board and the public up to date on. The governor and the legislature finished up the closeout of the fiscal 19 budget since our last meeting. The state did have a surplus. I think it was about $2 billion mostly in revenues above expectations. A lot of educational stuff came out of that, so that's positive for us. We get Chapter 90 money for road improvements and road repairs, and that comes to us directly. So there was a supplemental Chapter 90 appropriation in the amount, I think it was $200 million. And for Middleton, that was $30,800. So our normal distribution, or our base distribution, was $308,000 for fiscal 20. So this $30,800 will go in to the rest of the Chapter 90 work, Chapter 90 money for the various public works projects that we have around town. So we're appreciative of the work of the legislature and the governor in providing those additional funds, and I can guarantee they'll be put to good use. So The master planning process.
Well, before you leave, the closeout also included a transfer of $20 million to the CPA trust fund, so we will be getting an additional, check beyond the check that we got, in November.
That's right. And I did see something this week that will come in, because it's coming fairly late. It won't be available until, I think, after we close the books on fiscal '20, but I don't anticipate that will hold us up on anything. So, the master planning process for 105 South Main Street is ongoing and beginning to crystallize to some degree. Committee is meeting tomorrow with HKT, meeting here at Fuller Meadow, but we're meeting across the hall in the cafeteria. There's another meeting tomorrow night here in the library, so we'll meet in the cafeteria. We'll be looking at preliminary floor plans, phasing options for the project, starting to talk about the sort of the architectural features that will run through the first phase, as well as in likely carry over into future phases. A couple of Mass DOT, Mass Department of Transportation items for us. I emailed the board Friday, I think, about a project on Route 114 at the Danvers line. And we blasted something out to the residents at the same time. DOT is doing Danvers Water, I guess, is doing a repair of a water main that hangs on the bridge over the Ipswich River. There will be lane restrictions, probably a single lane for a couple of weeks during daytime hours. So it's not overnight, it's not 24 hours, but it is during daytime. So there's going to be some inconvenience for people traveling between Middleton and Danvers on Route 114. The issue that is going on out there is water main, as I said, that hangs on the bridge. It's been leaking. It was identified. They're lining up the contractors and the parts and all of that. In the last couple of days, or the last day, I guess, the leak has gotten significantly worse. So it's a good thing that they're moving forward on this project. In addition to the lane restriction, there will likely be some discoloration of water. So don't be surprised if your whites come out a little less white than they went in, or run. As best thing is to run your cold tap. Ideally, run your outside tap. That's usually the easiest thing, but not so easy in the wintertime. So we expect the work to start on Thursday, and as I said, we're expecting 3 weeks, hoping for a little bit less than that. Also from Mass DOT, they are renumbering all of the exits in Massachusetts on all the highways. This is something that most other states have already done. They're going to number them according to the lane mile that the exit takes place in. So if you're getting off at an exit that's at mile number 100, it'll be exit 100 now. So rather than the sequential numbering that we have now. Those of you who travel to Maine frequently, that's the way Maine does. I remember when they went through that process probably 20 or 25 years ago. So probably doesn't affect local drivers too much. Beneficial certainly for people out of town. But there's a public input hearing, first of several that there will be on January 23rd at 6:30 p.m. in Lowell City Hall. We'll try to get the other meetings out as we hear from them. And then finally, we've talked a little bit about trash and recycling over the last few months. And there was an article that I sent to the board over the weekend, or Monday, I guess it was. An article in the paper in the Boston Globe on Sunday about the changing trash market, and particularly the changing recycling market. The trash market is changing too. There are fewer and fewer incinerators and other places to dispose of regular trash. So that's driving up the cost of the tipping fees on trash. And then the recycling markets have changed in the last 2 years because the the countries where we were dumping most of our recycling have cut back on what they're accepting or raised the threshold for what they will accept. So those two factors together are going to be driving up pretty much everybody's trash costs in the coming years. Our contract with Covanta for the incinerator runs out in a year and a half, in June of '21. We expect that the price per ton will go from $75 to maybe $90 or above. So that's a 20% increase right there. Recycling continues to get more expensive. We no longer receive credits that we used to get for recycling. So we're going to be, I'm putting together a working group of Kenny Gibbons, Paul Goodwin, probably Tanya, myself, and probably some other people as well, some state DEP folks that deal with recycling, and we're going to look at various options that are available. And trash kind of runs the gamut, solid waste runs the gamut from towns that provide no trash service at all, you get your own curbside, to communities that do what we do, to curbside, to pay-as-you-throw or modified pay-as-you-throw. So we're going to look at that. That's it's going to take us a while, I think, to unravel that and come up with an ideal plan. But certainly our costs are going to go up over the coming years, and we'll have to figure out the best way to provide that service, assuming that we want to continue to provide that service. So there'll be more to talk about that. We'll probably talk about it again at our February 1st budget meeting. I should mention that as well for the public. Our operating budget meeting is Saturday, February 1st, here at the Fuller Meadow School, beginning at 8:30. But as part of the public works conversation, I think we'll probably be talking about trash that day as well. So that's what I've got for updates.
Great. Any questions of Mr. Sheehan? All righty. I think we'll skip over public comment as no one signed up, and we'll move to our first agenda item. It's a vote to accept and authorize the fire chief to expend funds in the amount of $5,440 from a Department of Fire Services grant to fund hoods and gloves. Do I have such a motion?
I'll make a motion to vote to accept and authorize fire chief expend funds in the amount of $5,440 for a Department of Fire Services grant to fund hoods and gloves.
A motion, I have a second. Have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Our next agenda item is a vote to accept and authorize the town administrator to expend funds in the amount of $30,000 from a Massachusetts Office of Disabilities ADA Improvement Grant.
What kinds of things will the money be spent on?
So essentially, it's a sort of an audit of our, or an assessment of all of our facilities. Do you want to, you've been working on this, do you mind?
Sure.
You want to talk about it?
First of all, thanks to Scott Fitzpatrick and Gary Bent, who worked on this with me to put the grant in. And what it is a planning grant, so it's for a self-assessment regarding our ADA accessibility through the public buildings and parks, as well as our website. So this money will, probably in whole go to a consultant to do this work along with our help, and we'll produce a document and probably a presentation about things that we can do or can and should do to become accessible throughout the town. So that's what this is.
And this goes, beyond things that are already being done, like, the curbs, cuts, at sidewalks or people in wheelchairs. Right, so, it's not that.
No,
it's a lot of other things.
Yep, it's our buildings and our parks, and our website will be the primary things that they'll be looking at.
And for the website, and you talking about for people that are either visually
It's
or
blind and low vision.
Yep, so they'll do an audit of that as well. Yes.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move to accept and authorize the town administrator to expend funds in the amount of $30,000 from a Mass Office on Disabilities Improvement Grant.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Our next agenda item is to review and vote to adopt the revised complete streets policy.
So the Complete Streets policy was adopted in 2014. It has been, we've been working to implement it over the past few years since its adoption. The changes that are in here really are quite minimal. It changes we had established a Complete Streets Committee, which was a staff level, primarily a staff level committee. And what we've found is that we're a little bit more, you've heard us talk about being nimble or being flexible. The Complete Streets Committee was not quite as nimble and flexible as we wanted it to be. So we're changing its focus a little bit, broadening it out from just complete streets things to transportation in general. And so looking at traffic, looking at citizen complaints about speed, traffic calming, things like that, as well as complete streets. So essentially what this, the largest part of what this policy change does is strike all references to the Complete Streets Committee and insert the Transportation Task Force.
So tell me who would serve on the Transportation Task Force?
So it will be people from either Tanya or I or both, Public Works, Police, Fire, and the Town Planner. In the past, it included those as well as Board of Health and inspections, and then sort of left it open to other committees, departments, and officials as appropriate.
So Board of Health and Inspections now
Inspections.
off of that
Yeah,
committee?
yeah.
So I think part of the rationale for them being on the committee originally was around the acceptance of roadways and items. Who is going to be responsible when we're accepting a roadway to make sure that any, whether it's water connections and/or, I mean, there's very small areas in the town, but where there is sewerage and then any other potential septic issues?
Yeah, so that would be, that would fall to the Public Works and to the planner to do that. And they are the primary parties in street acceptances anyways, as well as the planning board.
All right, any other questions of Mr. Sheehan?
We move to adopt the revised complete street policy.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Passes unanimously. Our next agenda item, a vote to declare surplus the Council on Aging's 2007 Aerobus with an estimated value of $4,000 and authorize the town administrator to dispose of it in accordance with statutes and local policies.
So this is the oldest of the vans that the COA has. They actually have 3 vans right now. This is a 14-seater, quite old, not in service now. Hasn't been in service for about a year, so we're just getting it off our books.
So we're not going to put the van back together again? Sorry.
So it's just going to be surplus and scrapped, I assume?
Yeah, so it's a little hard to find values for these sort of oddball vehicles, but.
So I
we don't
noticed
think
there's a,
more than 4,000.
somehow I got on an email list from them, I think it was from an MMA conference a year or two ago, an entity that does online auctions for disposing of.
Yeah, we just did.
I don't think it would actually work for this vehicle because it's old and probably doesn't have much left in her, but have we looked into that in other,
We have, yeah.
Equipment.
And they deal, I think, exclusively with surplus. And
is it
so-
surplus, or like if we were getting a new pickup truck to replace an old pickup truck, would they take that rather than us doing a trade-in? Or have the opportunity?
They would
to-
do the auction for us. They would do the disposition for us. so they wouldn't get us the new vehicle.
No, obviously.
So we have looked at them. I've talked to them a couple of times. I've been cornered by them at the MMA or other places. We don't generate that much equipment, surplus vehicles and equipment, so it doesn't appear to be that useful for us. And most of what we get rid of is pretty low value. It's like this. It's salvage or a little better. So it's just as easy. It's rare that we're surplusing something valued at more than $10,000. So if we're under 10,000, it's pretty straightforward. We do a real quick and dirty solicitation or advertisement, and basically take the high bidder for that. So that's it's worked well for us. If we had a bigger fleet, it would make sense for us to do that. But at this point, it really hasn't made sense.
And you mentioned it hasn't been used for a year. Is there any reason that we're only now getting to do this?
Title reasons. It's actually owned by the North Shore Elder Services, and so we still don't have the title. We're told that it's in process to get the title to us. It's been registered by the town for, as long as we've been driving it.
I think this is one of the old vans that years back, the legislature was funding grants through COA grants that went through local elder services for
Yes.
vehicles.
Yeah. So we're actually not quite ready to get rid of it, but we figured we'd take advantage. It came up in conversation recently. We thought, let's get it all lined up, so whenever we get the title, we can get rid of it.
So we'll officially be at 2 vans.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second. Sorry.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, passed unanimously. Our next agenda item is to review and approve a donation to the Middleton Council on Aging in the amount of $1,000 from Middleton Family Medicine Practice.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve with thanks a donation to the Council on Aging in the amount of $1,000 from Middleton Family Medicine.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, passed unanimously. And we have more money. Next is to review and approve the following donations to the Middleton Food Pantry. $500 from Bostic, $500 from United Civil, and $2,000 from New England Biolabs, Inc. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the following donations to Middleton Food Pantry.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second with thanks.
I have a second with thanks. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Passes unanimously. We seem to be on a roll. Our next agenda item is to vote to appoint Paul Goodwin as Superintendent of Public Works and to appoint Ken Gibbons as Deputy Superintendent of Public Works. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
What is the time of through,
So we're precluded for most municipal positions for executing more than a one-year contract. So these will just run through June 30th, and then they'll
Then be
be
renewed.
reappointed.
okay.
Okay.
Second.
I have a second. Do I have any further discussion?
So should I recuse myself on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so, for the record.
All right, so, no further discussion. We'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously with a recusal by Selectman Moreski. Our next agenda item is any new business? Austin, no? Nothing? Anybody? All righty. Our next agenda item, will we be returning back in tonight?
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so. No. Okay. Then our next agenda item is an executive session under General Law, Chapter 30A. And who is the clerk?
Oh, I
You
apologize,
are.
I'm writing.
So we need we will not be returning into session, so we need a roll call vote.
Selectman Prentakis.
Yes.
Selectman Cresta.
Yes.
Selectman Hooton.
Yes.
Selectman Cassiotis.
Yes.
And myself, yes.
All righty. Well, In that case, we stand adjourned from regular session, and we will not be returning.